Is the iPhone 13 Pro the beginning of the end of large mirrorless cameras? Is computational photography here to change your life? Let's talk about that today. I'm Raphael and welcome to the channel where our goal is to always fix it in camera and then finesse it in post. And I always appreciate the early thumb bump because I said last year computational photography is here to stay and there is no stopping it at this point. The biggest reason I didn't upgrade last year to the 12 Pro is when I saw that the ultra-wide camera did not perform well in low light as equally to the other two cameras. It really seemed like Apple did the ultra-wide really dirty. But this year, the ultra-wide is so good. It feels just as wide as last year, but now it's in line with the other two cameras in terms of quality, which all have larger sensors, which means larger photo sites, and the lenses have larger apertures as well. Both of these allow way more light to get into the camera, resulting in cleaner images, especially in low light. And let me tell you, the low light photos and videos on all the cameras are fantastic. From what I can tell, it can see better than I can in these darker scenes. And combined with computational photography and some fancy software denoising magic from Apple, it leads to some pretty images in many lighting conditions. It's one of the main reasons the Sony a7S III is so good in low light. The 3-camera setup reminds me of those old Bolex film cinema cameras with built-in switchable lenses, and I can see Apple's inspiration for adding cinematic mode. It's through the software and not the optics, and last year it was photos only. This year it's for HD video at 30 frames per second. Cinematic mode is pretty cool, but it's not perfect. And if you're a pixel peeper, you can see how it falls apart very quickly. But if you design the shots knowing the limitations and keep the focus of the shots to be well defined, like the person, which this software is actually designed for, most viewers won't notice and it will cut nicely with your other footage. Overall, it's really good, but gets pretty noticeable in many edge cases. I'm pretty sure that this will get better over time as the machine learning gets better with those literal edge cases. As 2 Minute Paper says,
"What a time to be alive."
And remember, Hollywood is built on movie magic. It's all fake behind the scenes. So as long as you can make the shot work for the viewer, this is going to be really good. Cinematic mode is great and all, but I feel macro photography may be that one sleeper feature that just knocks people's socks off. It's actually the thing that I'm liking the most with this phone right now. The macro photos, I've thoroughly been impressed with how close you can get to things and it's still in focus. And for 90% of shots, this will work really well. So no need for some crazy expensive pro blends. You can create so many shots with this iPhone. And if you get really close, turn on the flash to light the shots up close. The sensor stabilization tech is quite smooth. It's really good for handheld video and long exposure photos. Though it kind of falls apart in macro video, it gets this weird motion that is very, very noticeable. But when you go into ultra-wide, that's when the stabilization really shines. And the 13 Pro also records in HDR Dolby Vision, which many larger cameras don't even have. And if you're working in an SDR timeline, the amount of range you can pull back is fantastic. You have to crank down quite a bit and still have a beautiful image. If you're trying to use iPhone footage in your timeline, you can color correct, or a simpler way is to override the color space by going into the Clip Info Inspector, switching it to settings, and changing to Rec 709 or 2020, and adjust with minor color tweaks. I'm just going to touch briefly on the 120 Hz display. It is noticeable, it seems really nice. The refresh rate can go all the way down to 10 frames a second if it's just on a static page, which is another great bonus compared to other large cameras. No more battery banks that you have to carry with you. And compared to the iPhone X and to the 8, it is a huge leap in camera tech. I did a whole video with side-by-side comparisons of those 3 phones in different scenarios. So the question does remain, is this truly the end of large mirrorless cameras? Well, no, but life is about to change in a big way. This is the beginning of a huge transition to computational photography making its way into larger cameras. There will eventually be a huge convergence where the difference between smartphone cameras and large cameras will almost be indistinguishable. Computational photography is already creeping its way into the post-processing space with Photoshop, Luminaire AI, and other software like that. Of the big players in the space right now, Sony has the best chance to get it right for large sensor cameras. They make the sensors, they have the track record with software development, so unless Apple keeps making their phone sensors bigger and bigger year over year, or like I said in the video last year, with the iPhone Pro 12 announcement, is it really crazy to think that this will eventually merge with this? I believe that Sony is next in line to bring computational photography to full frame cameras. If you like this video, give it a thumb up. Also, I live stream on my second channel where I deep dive on the creative process as well as freelance financials. So make sure you check that out. As always, thanks for watching.